Something funny?
No, nothing's, it's just, I'm still learning about this stuff.
This stuff?
It's just so much fluff.
Welcome to Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage, where we talk about everything light and lovely, the softer side of Sears. If you're looking for something a little deeper, this may not be your jam. But if it is, click play. Can't wait to chat. Yes. All right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good moment. I don't know when you clicked on the podcast. I'm just so happy you did, especially if you are joining me on the actual podcast and did not come over to YouTube to watch the video. You started here on the audio version with me. And for that, I am ever so grateful. Hey, how you doing? This is Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage. I am Wanda Coppage. If you're not familiar with me, a little quick backstory. During the day, I am the midday personality on a wonderful urban AC radio station, WYBC, where I cover Black culture music, Black news, and I do a daily segment called For the Culture every single day that I'm on, Monday through Friday. And on the weekends, on Fridays, I do a What You Should Be Watching as we head into the weekend. So if you are familiar with radio, not a lot of talking on Urban AC, FM terrestrial radio. You have about 30 seconds to a minute to get in and get out. And that's just not enough time for me. I need more time because I have much more to say. So I have this podcast here, Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage, where it's uncensored, unfiltered, no time restriction, and I get to talk about any and everything that I want to talk about, which is usually a continuation of the things that I did not get to cover during my mic breaks on air. So thank you for joining me. That's just a little bit of background about myself. If you are watching the video, YouTube, then you see that behind me are some wonderful photos. Let me introduce you. Over here, we have the legends, Miss Billy and Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis on this side, that's Miles Davis. And Miss Billy, that's Miss Billie Holiday. Now over here, that's my brother Demetrius Coppage. You'll hear me possibly make reference to him often because he has left us, but he is still with me in spirit. I keep him close. All right. So again, thank you for coming in. I'm going to try to stay on task, stay on target because I can go. And when I get going, it's just like, what was I talking about? I decided to let go of the virtual background. That just wasn't working out for me. It was becoming more of a nuisance than appealing in the background. So I said, let it go. And hopefully this time I won't have to take off my eyelash like I did the last time, but we never know how this is going to go. All right, so let's get right to the business of the day. As I was preparing, and we call it show prepping for my midday radio personality show, I came across some things, and I said, you know what, this is where we're going to go for Fluff and Stuff, and I'm going to try to take you in sequential order of how I landed where I landed and got to where I got. Okay. You know what March 3rd is? March 3rd is going to be the release of a movie that I cannot wait to see. You know what that film is? This man is so fine. Why is this man so fine? Michael B. Jordan, Creed 3. Creed 3, Michael B. Jordan. So in doing my research, my show prep for the culture, I stumbled across an article about Michael B. Jordan with this picture. Oh, sweet Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for your grace and for your mercy. We're going to say a prayer over this man. Because I said to myself, self, why is this man so fine? And then I said to myself, self, he has come a long way from Wallace. Do you know who Wallace is? I need you to know who Wallace is, because if you do not know who Wallace is, then that means you don't know where Wallace came from, his character. That means you don't know what The Wire is. And shame on you. The shame of it all if you do not know about The Wire. It's one of the best series still, even though it's done, the best series HBO has ever released. The Wire. And what I thought was ironic was the fact that Creed 3 is going to be released March 3rd. And the last episode of The Wire aired on March 9th. Now, I'm talking March 9th years ago. Years ago. I think was it 2008? Am I lying? I have to check that. I think The Wire premiered in 2002, and the last episode was March 9th, 2008. 60 episodes. Makes me think of Biggie, the greatest rapper of all time, died on March 9th, but we're talking 2008, and Biggie died in the 90s. Phenomenal series. So, again, I'm taking you through my thought process. I saw the photo of Michael B. Jordan about Creed. It's coming out March 3rd. I said, this man is fine. He's come a long way from Wallace. The Wire. And I recently sat down and watched The Wire in its entirety. Nope. Don't get it twisted. This is not my first time watching The Wire. This is my first time, what I realized, watching The Wire in its entirety, in sequential order. I'm very familiar with Stringer Bell. We'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm very familiar with Avon Barksdale. I'm very familiar with Marlowe. I know their stories, but I cannot say I sat there and watched The Wire from start to finish, from episode 1 to the very last episode, ongoing, back to back to back. I kind of dipped in and dipped out. But recently, before this one, before Creed 3, my family and I, my husband, my son, who is 14, I think he was probably about 13 when we went to see the last Creed. My son asked me, he'll ask me about Michael B. Jordan when we see him, because of my response. Every time I see Michael B. Jordan, I'm just like, damn, Michael B. Jordan. That ain't Wallace. And every time I say that, my son's like, who's Wallace? Who's what my son thinks? Again, he's 14, so he has no clue about the culture of the 90s or early 2000s when I was raised. My son thinks every woman who's singing on the radio is Mary J. Blige. Every single time someone is singing and it's a woman, he'll say, is that Mary J. Blige? Anyway, so when when Michael B. Jordan pops up on any screen, I'm just like, dang, it's definitely come a long way from Wallace. When you see Wallace, doesn't he make you, his little face, he's just like, hey, little stinky, hey, little cutie. And to see this glow up that this man has, it's just like, oh, he is gorgeous. So with the questions that my son was asking during a particular time, it made me feel like, you know what? I think I should revisit The Wire. I want to watch The Wire. Let's watch The Wire from start to finish. So that's exactly what I did. And in watching The Wire from start to finish in my 40s, because again, The Wire came on, The Wire was released in 2002. In 2002, I was still a college student. Shout out to Virginia State University. I was still in school. So, which is why I said I didn't get a chance to sit there and watch The Wire in its entirety, episode after episode, the way it was released. No, I kind of dipped in and dipped out. And even after graduation, still being able to check in here and there when it would be on for reruns, when it went into syndication a little bit. So I never watched it in its entirety. But what I do know is Watching this series again as a grown ass woman in my 40s, I I'm receiving it a little differently than I did when I watched it back then. When I watched then, my response was kind of like, who is Stringer Bell? Let me do some research on this actor. Damn. Who is Idris Elba? I was introduced to the actor Idris Elba from his character of Stringer Bell. Then, after that era of drug dealers were killed or got locked up, we were introduced to the new set of those that ran Baltimore, which was Marlowe's character. And that's where we met Snoop. And I forgot the other guy's name, the other ruthless killer from that, and Mac Wilds. That was from Marlowe's set. So all we know, or all I knew as a young woman in my 20s, to, let me get some credit here. In my 20s, that's what I was looking at, how attractive that these people were. In my 40s, it's a little different. It hits a little different. I'm looking at this story now like, this is a freaking tragedy. This storyline is tragic. My heart kind of hurts in watching The Wire in my 40s. If you are a woman or a male and you have not seen The Wire, the entire series from start to finish, you've only dipped in and you've dipped out, or you have not watched it since your 20s, I encourage you, go back and watch The Wire. If you are a person in your latter 30s to your 40s and beyond, and you have not watched The Wire since your 20s, you have a different mindset. You're a grown ass person now. You look at things and perceive things and receive things differently than you did when you were in your 20s. If you go back and watch The Wire, I want to see if you're going to feel what I felt, because I'm sitting here almost in tears at how tragic this story was. Michael B. Jordan, his character Wallace, why did he kill him like that? If you haven't watched The Wire, spoiler alert like a mug, okay? Wallace dies at the hands of his boys. Bodie shot him. And then this other boy finished the job because they thought he was a rat, because he kind of was. He wasn't built for that. D'Angelo wanted him to go off and do something different. But he didn't know anything else. They were hood kids from the projects. They didn't know anything else. I think I actually shed some tears. Like, that was so grimy. But I would have to say, out of all of the storylines, what touched me the most was when Marlo stepped on the scene. And we are introduced to the young ones. They began to shift for this particular season. They're focusing on the drug game, but also how the students in the school system are affected by these drug dealers and becoming runners, bundle workers. And that's where we meet Tristan, Mac Wilds, his little brother, his friends Naaman, and the one that ended up getting sent to the group home, and what's his name? Duquan. I lost my shit over Duquan. I really did. I cried for Duquan. That it was the most tragic story ever. He had no place. He had no sense of self. His parents or his family were crackheads. His friends kept him stable until his friends had no place for him to go. It's like Mac Wild's character said, I'm sending my brother over here. You got to figure out what you're going to do, because I'm on the run now. Duquan had nowhere to go, so he ended up going with the other drug addicts. And guess what? Duquan became a drug addict. Listen, the story is just so tragic. So tragic. And it all stems from me seeing Michael B. Jordan's picture. I'm just like, The Wire, which made me think about the rest of the cast and where they've all kind of landed in their careers, because we see more of certain people from The Wire than we do from other people. So I kind of went on this whole search for, well, where are the characters from The Wire now? We all know where Idris Elba is. He's doing fine and looking fine. Okay. Idris Elba was actually recently in the headlines for not wanting to be referred to as a black actor. Did you hear about this? Black Twitter wanted to cancel Idris Elba because he says during an interview, what the man said was he would rather be known as an actor, plain and simple. I would rather be known as an actor than for people to describe me or for him to describe himself as a black actor. He said, I stopped describing myself as a black actor when I realized that it put me in a box. We've got to grow. We've got to. Our skin is no more than that. It's just skin. So when this interview hit the blogs and it hit the internets, people felt some type of way, like he was trying to distance himself or relinquish himself from his blackness. Did you hear about this story? If so, what do you think? How did you interpret this story? Because I will give you what I got from it. I got from it exactly what he meant of it. The man said, when we start describing ourselves as black actress, black actor, we are ourselves isolating. I know I'm black. You know I'm black. All you got to do is look at me. I'm a black woman. But if I start saying in a public forum, I'm a black actress, instead of just I am an actress, I'm already limiting myself. Does that make sense? I'm already putting myself in a box. You never see, and I know you're going to say, well, Wanda, you don't ever see it because this is their land. This is their world. They kind of run this. You don't see or hear white people do that. White actresses don't say, as a white actress, maybe it's because we are the minority, we kind of lean into that minority, we lean into that label. A lot of LGBTQ individuals will say, well, as a member of the LGBTQ or the trans community, or as a trans, maybe because it's the minority, Idris Elba is saying, why not just be what you are instead of leading with that of the community you're in? You know, I'm in this community. You know that I am a black woman. It's almost like this podcast. Now, when you see me on TikTok and also on YouTube, and even sometimes when I am on Instagram with my other podcast as a life coach, you'll use certain tags like podcast for black women, black podcasters, black social media, hashtag black Twitter. But that's fine if that's where you want to stay. That's what I'm saying. If that's where you want to stay, if that's who you want your audience to be, then identify solely with, this is the community I represent. But if you want to grow outside of that box, then you might want to stop self-identifying or putting yourself in a box with only just being that. You don't have to lead with that. I hope I'm making sense, because I feel like I'm going to put myself in a box that Idris Elba was just in, when I totally, wholeheartedly agree and understand with what he's saying. Yes, I'm black. I am a black woman, or for him, he's a black man. He's a black actor. Of course, he's not saying Don't call me black. Of course, he's a black man. He's a sexy ass black man. What he's saying is, I'm an actor. It's the same for the same reason where Bond, James Bond. Remember when there was so much debate around whether or not Idris Elba should play James Bond? Why? Because he's black. And from what we know of James Bond, that was a white man. Idris Elba can't be James Bond because that was a white man. He's a black man. And it's like he's saying to us, why can't I just be a man? Why can't I just be an actor? That the James Bond is a fictional character. Why can't I play him? You know, I don't understand. I'm an actor. Let me play the role. So when you start leading with I'm a black actor, you remove yourself from opportunities to play roles that does not require you to, or that requires you to be anything else. So that's where Idris Elba is. I'm gonna leave that one alone before I put myself in a box. Don't come for me. Don't cancel me. So Idris Elba from the cast of The Wire doing absolutely well. Cheese. But I'm gonna try to stay focused. Let's go back to my board here of what I'm talking about. Idris Elba is one of the Wire cast members that actually has been doing extremely well for himself. Idris, we have the Image Awards coming up on the 25th, the day after Chloe is supposed to drop this single. We're going to get to that. I have not seen Idris Elba nominated or recognized for his contributions to the entertainment acting industry. We're going to have to talk about that. Maybe that'll be a different topic. Idris Elba is wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. And we're going to have to figure out what's going on with that. Make sure you tune into that podcast because I'm going to be going over. I did one with my predictions. We're going to see who wins, and we're going to go back and revisit to see who won and if I was right on certain things. So, Cheese. Method Man is nominated for an Image Award. There's one. Cheese was played by Method Man Clifford Harris. That's the METHOD man. He is in The Wire as Cheese. He's also in Power now. Method Man is doing his thing as an actor. Shout out to Method Man. And ladies of a particular age, and if you grew up with hip hop and you're listening right now, Method Man, and Chic Luch from the Locks. That's just like, baby. We're going to leave that one alone. Another one that we are going to visit, I already spoke about him, is Marlo, Jamie Hector. Now, recently, I need you to watch this show. If you have not watched the HBO miniseries, We Own This City. I already spoke about how The Wire was a tragic story. This is tragic. I'll tell you why this is tragic. We Own This City is, one, a recycled cast from The Wire. Jamie Hector, who plays Marlo, is in this miniseries. Just about every person you can think of without the mention of Idris Elba, D'Angelo, he's not in this as well. A lot of the sub characters are in this one. And it's about the Baltimore Police Department's gun task force and the corruption surrounding it, all at the hands of Sergeant Wayne Jenkins. Are you familiar with this story? Wayne Jenkins, one of 8 officers who was convicted on various corruption. I mean, serious corruption. Like, damn, police officers really need to be screened and then screened and then screened again. Because these officers were convicted on various corruption charges from 2018 to 2019. And when I watched this series, I said, oh, that was magnificent. 6 episodes. And I said, well, when is the next one coming out? I need a season 2. And I went online and started researching. When is We Own This City season 2 going to be released? Are we getting a season 2? Because everything gets canceled these days. Come to find out, to my surprise, I was not familiar with it. This was based on a real, true story. This is based on real officers in Baltimore on a real gun task force, which has since been disbanded. Are you familiar with this? 8 police. I'm baffled every time I recognize that this is actually a real story. Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, leader of the task force, 41 years old, serving 25 years in a low security prison in Kentucky. He's not scheduled to be released until 2038. Daniel Herschel, 18-year sentence. Detective Marcus Taylor, 18 years. Former Sergeant Thomas Allers, 15 years. Former Detective Jamel Ram, 12 years. Former Detective Mamadou Gondo is what they called him, 10 years. Evodio Hendricks, 7 years. Maurice Ward, it says also released as former Detective Maurice Ward, who has already been released on probation. If you have not seen this show, I encourage you to watch it. Because it's based on a true story. It's based on a true story, and it's horrific. It's a horrible story of how police officers really take that sense of power to a whole new level. It makes you relive Tyree Nichols. And I know this is fluff and stuff. We're not going to get too deep. I told you we're not going to go there. We're going to keep it light and fluffy. But hearing the story of these police officers really does make you understand the mentality of a police officer, to think that they are above and they have this sense of entitlement and power that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do to you with no consequences, no repercussions. Okay? That's all I'm saying. We own this city. I need you to check that out. To wrap this up, to bring this to a close, as I mentioned before, March 9th. Nope. March 25th is when the Image Awards are going to come on. And March 24th is when, I got those dates all backwards. February. Child, we are in the month of February. We're not in March yet. We are looking forward to the 25th for the Image Awards. The day before that, Chloe is going to drop her new single, which is called How Does It Feel? That's the name of it. It's called How Does It Feel? But because when I heard or saw How Does It Feel, you know who I thought about, right? D'Angelo. I thought about D'Angelo. The name of the song is called How Does It Feel? I have not heard it yet. It won't be released until this coming week. I do a segment on radio called Music Mondays with new music. So hopefully I'll have it in my hands real soon so I can go ahead and preview that, premiere that on my station for the listeners. She's collaborating with Chris Breezy Brown. Now, when I saw this story, I said, the picture, this one, don't they look good together? Chris Brown and Chloe Bailey look real good together, which got me to thinking, you know what? Chris Brown does kind of have a checkered past. And even though Chloe Bailey is a sex symbol, she's sexy, beautiful girl, Chloe Bailey is not about that life. Chloe Bailey is not from these streets. Chloe Bailey and her sister Hallie, they are nice girls. They were only introduced to this nakedness once they became a part of this industry, because that's what the entertainment industry will do to you, especially when you have the wrong people and the wrong mentors in place. You end up naked. Okay, especially when someone notices your body and says, oh, you got curves, you got a butt, you got some breasts. Why don't we show that off so you can sell some tickets to a show or a record? Not focusing on the throat game, because that means that she can actually sing. She's a beautiful girl, wholesome girl. You can tell by the way she speaks. She's not from these streets. That rhyme. Point of the story is, in my matchmaking mind, I said, even though Chris Brown and Chloe, they look good together, and more than likely they sound good together on the track because they both can sing. I'm going to play matchmaker in my head, and I don't see her with Chris Brown. I saw her with Michael B. Jordan and some other people. I encourage you to go on my TikTok because we had a whole matchmaking session with Chloe Bailey. We're going to put her with somebody. But that's how it was related to Michael B. Jordan, because I said I can see Chloe with Michael B. Jordan. And don't come for me with the age difference, because that little fake ass relationship he had with Lori Harvey is 2 years older than Chloe Bailey. I know he's in his 30s and Chloe's in her 20s, but Lori Harvey's in her 20s, 2 years older than Chloe. So don't come for me with that age difference. But check out TikTok to see who we put Chloe Bailey with. Long story short, this collaboration between Chloe Bailey and Chris Brown was met by criticism because of Chris Brown's checkered past. The only person that seemed to have an issue with it and bring his checkered past to the forefront is Keely. Let me stop talking about this girl. You know, she kind of spoke with a lisp. Keely from 3LW, formerly the Cheetah Girls. The bully. I call her a bully because if you follow Notori said both she and Adrienne Bailon, they both owe her some apologies. Now, Adrienne womaned up and said sorry to Notori. Keely has not. Keely doesn't have a career right now either. I said what I said. And Chris Brown pointed that out when he clapped back at Miss Keely as well. But what Keely said, and I will give her credit, is that Chris Brown has a history and a past for abusing women. Where's the lie? No lies told. When she found out about this collaboration, she went online and she said, we're failing Black women in music if they feel like they have to collaborate with a known abuser in order to chart. Yeah. We do remember what happened with Rihanna, right? We remember? This is what else she had to say. And let's not forget Karrueche, Chris Brown's ex-girlfriend, who he stalked. She had to get a restraining order against this dude. Chris Brown is always threatening, harassing, kicking somebody off the bus. A whole list of the things that Chris Brown has done. Okay? Starting back in 2012 when he stole a woman's phone. Then he shoved somebody to the ground. Then he kicked some woman off the bus. Then he allegedly punched somebody in the face. Then his former girlfriend, Karrueche, restraining order. Then he was detained by a LAPD police officer following a standoff at his home where a woman had accused the singer of threatening her with a gun. There's some rape charges in there, aggravated rape. From 2012 up until 2022, Chris Brown stays in the news on some type of assault against somebody's daughter. And not just him, Trey Songz too. Trey Songz can get it too. Trey Songz is always out here in these streets making headlines for something that he did to assault aggressively someone's daughter. And there's even the R word as it relates to Trey Songz. Even Keke Palmer said Trey Songz sexually intimidated her, right? That was the words that were used, sexual intimidation against Trey Songz. And then there's Tory Lanez, who shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. You shot me. That's what she say. You shot me. And yet we keep giving these people a pass. And it's not just Chloe Bailey. Let's be real and call a spade a spade. Chloe Bailey is not the only person that has collabed with Chris Brown. We're talking these hoes ain't loyal. 50 Cent, Wiz Kid, Chloe Bailey is not the first, and she won't be the last. The question becomes, how do we, Black culture, determine who we are canceling and who we are not? Especially when the offense is the same. If everyone is out here assaulting women, assault is an assault, is an assault, is an assault. So, how do we determine who gets canceled and who doesn't? And at what point, if any, are we willing to forgive? What has to happen for us to forgive? Why are we so quick to forgive one but not the other? What's wrong with us? Because one thing I could say about Keely, I'm getting sick and tired of your broken promises. She has a point. He does have an assault past. He does. So Chloe Bailey, don't date Chris Brown. Don't date it. Let's not forget what happened to Rihanna. And maybe he is a changed man. If you serve God and you love the Lord, then you know it's all about forgiveness. It's all about forgiveness. And we can be wiped clean. We definitely can. But how do we determine which ones we're going to wipe clean? Because I'm going to be honest. I will be honest and transparent on all of my platforms. Here's the thing. R. Kelly is canceled. But you get me alone in my house on my own playlist. I am playing. It's the remix to Ignition, Hot and Fresh out the kitchen. I play R. Kelly. Dang, y'all gonna cancel me? On my own playlist, it's the remix to Ignition. But I know R. Kelly is the scum of the freaking earth. I understand that. He's canceled. But how do we determine who's canceled and who's not? I don't know, but I know this. The song is coming out. Chloe Bailey and Chris Breezy Brown. Is called How Does It Feel? And I'm going to let you know how I feel about it when it's dropped. So you got to come back, stay close with me, keep connected with me on my podcast, Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage, because I'm always talking about something and it's never going to be profound. We're never going to go too deep. We're going to keep it very light, very fluffy. That's just what it is, talking about all of this stuff. And then after that airs on the podcast, you get it first. Apple, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Amazon. You'll always get the audio. And then after that, you can check the video on YouTube. Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage. Make sure you follow me on TikTok as well. And drop a comment. What do you think? How do you feel about The Wire? Let me know if you go back and you watch The Wire. Let me know what you think about Chris Brown, Trey Songz, Tory Lanez, and how we pick and choose who we're going to follow and who we're going to cancel and who we're just going to continue to support. And make sure. Don't not make sure. Listen, look. Make sure you subscribe so you can get all of this, all right? I made it the whole video without snatching my lash off. But guess what? After I close this out, I'm taking it off. Y'all be easy. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you clicked on this podcast. And join me again, all right? This is Fluff and Stuff with Wanda Coppage. Enjoy the rest of your day.